Okay, I started it again. Let me try to get the link and this was the new one. I got 15 views immediately. I hope this one is working now. So let me try to. Yeah, this is fine. Let me pick up this side, then put it here. Yeah. So let me grab the link. I apologize for that, man. We were lagging, but now it's fixed. So it's making me restart again. Guys, sorry. You can't. Yeah. I hope this will not repeat again. Yeah, at least this is reasonable. Oh, hoping that this is not gonna lag again. Yeah. Hope I'm not lagging now. Let me just confirm it from here. Yeah. So I'm finally back. And this is, I confirm it is working. It's not lagging. So as I was explaining, I hope you guys joined this stream. I'm hoping so. You guys joined. Sorry for that. I was just lagging, but now this is okay. So yeah, enough with that. Let's go to the project goals. What do I want to achieve with this? What are my goals? So let's see, how did I write the goals here? Here, this is the template for writing your goal. I wrote the goal here is by 25th December 2025. Okay, this was the past one. 2025, I will implement an authentication service using Laravel Sanctum that connects to Postgres database that allows the user successful authenticate to focus flow within 10 seconds, and this within my next front-end website. So this is it with this. With the other goal of building the auth service. So what is my goal of building the cost service? The goal of building this cost service, as I think, is the goal is to build by 2 weeks from now will be like, let's say, I assume that is 8th of Feb. By 8th of Feb, I must have, you see that you need to start with must. I must have a fully functional course feature where users can come and click on the course. After clicking on the course, they can add courses, and they can have a structured place where they start learning and enter into flow state without any distraction. That is the goal. So let me type it here. Oh, sorry. Here, let me just come down here. By 8th February, 8th of February. Let me just say Feb, man. I don't need I don't need a lot of fancy spelling. By 8th of Feb, I must okay, this mouse is distracting me. I must have, what the hell? I must have a fully functioning okay, course feature. Functioning course feature where users can have a structured way of learning and easily enter the flow state. Yeah. So that is my goal. I want you to easily enter the flow state. I want you to easily start learning. Immediately when you join Focus Pro, you need to have fully functional course feature where you can start learning and enter the flow state. Yeah. This is my goal. And it must be implemented by the implementation must be done by 8th of February. So this is how you structure a project requirements document. You don't need, as I said, you don't need to copy. Please, you are doing yourself a favor. If you copy from ChatGPT, your project requirements document is like the project requirements document is not yours, it's for ChatGPT. I'm not saying it's something bad but you can consult it. But when it comes to writing your project requirements document, you need to do it by yourself. You need to just have a template, or you need to have a structure, because you are the one who will be building the application. So after having the goals, right now, as I'm writing this, is making me think about the future. It's making me to visualize it in my mind, like I know what I'm going to be building. So that is it. When you write your own project requirements document, most of this software out there, the softwares that are built, you can never find like the project manager or the people coming to work on the project getting or just generating their project requirements document with AI, because they will not understand it. This is like the brain of your application, or the brain or the heart of your application. Let me just say like that. All right. So I have the project goals. I need the success matrix. What can show that my application is successful? The course feature is successful. So within the success matrix, we have performance goal, and then we have security goals, user experience goals. These are the 3 goals. So I need to think about my performance goals here. As usual, I want the users to be able to create course within 10 seconds. That is the performance goal, the goal that I need to achieve. So let me say, let me just get it here. I say success. Let me get the success matrix. By the way, success matrix is like how will you measure the success of the feature? Let's say after building the feature, how will I know that this application is successful? I need to have matrix of measuring that. So within the success matrix, I have 2 goals. I have the performance goals. Within the course feature, I don't think I need any security goals, because it is not something related to authentication. But I can have security goals though. the person who is allowed to access the course is the only person who has created the course. So that is one security goal. But let's start with performance goal. I want users to be able to create course as easily as possible, just within let's say within 30 seconds. That is my goal. But that goal is not vague, and it's not vague, and it's not that useless goal. So having a goal that is as you remember, if you learn something about smart principles, I think is something let's say specific, measurable, there's achievable, and then the T is time bound. If you create a goal that is following the SMART principle, which means the goal should be what? Should be measurable. That's why I have success matrix. I need to measure the goal. I need to measure the goal of this feature. So which means the feature I'm creating is measurable, and it should be time bound. It should have a specific time where the feature will be built. So yeah, performance goals I want the users to easily create course within 30 seconds. That is a half minute. So that is my goal with this. Let's say a user comes to the application. I need them to be able to create a course within 30 seconds. Yes, without even, I want it to be intuitive. Like let's say when you go to YouTube, no one taught you how to use YouTube. No one told you that when you go to YouTube, you need to click this and this and this. The thing is, the interface is very intuitive. So that's the same goal that I need to achieve with this. I need, like, when users enter the application after users logging in, let me give you the sample of how the application looks like. This is how it looks like in production. We go to the home page. Yeah. Let's say you're scrolling through this application. No one will tell you when you come to Focus Flow, you need to go to sign up, it can be seen this is sign up. And it can be seen that when I click here, I can log in with Google, right? You have to wait some seconds, and then to load, immediately redirect you to dashboard. Yeah. So that is it. I don't want I want to create the course feature as easy as possible, so that when you click on courses, you need to be redirected to course, and you need to know what to do within the course. So that is one of my performance goals, to improve the performance of the users. I want users to easily create a course within 30 seconds. I know that goal might sound vague, but I'm hoping to achieve it. So, okay, that is the performance goal. Then the security goals is kind of easy and intuitive. Security goals. So the security goals of this feature is, I want a course that is created by a certain user. It should not be accessed by another user except through their permission. So if I have a course, I don't want somebody else to come and see the course. Somebody who's not even authenticated to see the course. So that is the security goal. Unless the user, I'm also planning for users to be able to share courses with other users. Let's say I created my own course. I need someone else to join the course. I can easily add that person to join my course. So that is it. So I have to say, like, I want the user, the owner of the course, to have full ownership over the course. Full ownership over his or her course. So that is one of the security goals I've created security goals and performance goals. Now, user experience goals. Within these user experience goals, user experience is like how intuitive or how easy is your application. Are the users able to use the application? Let's say within the login feature, I mean, the user experience goals was let me. I feel like this text are too small. They need to be zoomed so that users with eye problems should see it. Let me see. No. This is too big. Oh, it's clear like this. Okay. Every time, no efficiency time on the task. The user should complete the login to the dashboard in less than 100 milliseconds. I think this is too vague. The login should not be. Was my login within 100 milliseconds? Let me see. I did not time it, but I hope so. Let me try to log in again. I see if it's within 100 milliseconds. If it's within 100 milliseconds, then I achieve the goal. It's kind of. I think this is like maybe 30 seconds, less than 30 seconds. But at least, yeah, it's something useful that can be used. So my user experience goal. I don't want it to be vague like this. I want efficiency time on a task. The user should complete the course onboarding in less than let's say 30 seconds. Just something like that. Let me say let me copy that from here. User experience goals. Oh, okay. I don't know why I'm deleting it. So I need to write my own user experience goal, but let me take some water and then come back. So I need to have the user experience goal. So the user experience goal is I want the users to be able to create course in less than 1 minute. I think less than 1 minute. So if I manage to achieve this goal, which means I managed to improve or boost the performance of this application. So these are the goals, and then within here I had assumptions. Technical assumption, things that I might assume, but I will not add them here. User assumption and technical assumption will be different. It will not be added there. So I will immediately just jump into requirements, because this I feel like it's not that useful, because I'm just assuming things that I might include or I might not. So sometimes it's not that useful. So I have to go to the juicy part, that is the requirements. The user requirements. As you can see, we have the title of the requirement, we have the user story, we have the acceptance criteria, we have the priority, and then we have the link to Jira. We will also go to Jira, so we must do it. So we have the requirements now. Let's go. All right, all right. Thank God that we are not lagging. I thought that we are lagging. Do you know this? If we start, I don't know what's happening is from my OBS. It just gets stuck sometimes it gets stuck on one screen. So it only captures the part that I already captured, and I will be talking, yet it has stopped there. I don't know what is wrong with it. So I need to fix that OBS issue. But thank God it's working. So as I said, I need to copy this table and put it the other side. Let me copy the table and get it here. So I don't need all of this. I need to create my own. I need to create new user stories. I feel like this is the most important part when you want to build your project. That's where you need to start thinking of your user stories. And by the way, this is my work process of any feature that I'm building, even client work, even like my own projects. You can go to companies out there and you find that this is the same way they work, the same way people do work. This is the same way. There's nothing that has changed. Some people have different workflows, but most of agile workflow is like this. You need to write your project requirements document, and the project requirements document should be for only for each feature should have its own project requirements document. So that is it, man. If you learn something like this, it will help you a lot. I guarantee you that you will benefit from this. So let's start. We need to write the first requirement. Requirement is basically what we are going to build. And the first requirement is, as we said, if you answer all these questions, then you have in mind what you have in mind what you're going to build. You know the goals, you know the audience or the users that you're building to. So you need the requirement, the title of that. So the first thing is, the first and foremost is setting up the environment, right? So setting up the environment will be an epic. An epic, we said, is something that it can be built within 2 or 1 sprint or more. So setting up the environment, I know it will be built within 1 sprint, but it's supposed to be an epic. So okay, I'll put it as another epic. That is an environment setup, and within the environment setup, we have setting up our GitHub, where we'll put our code, where the code will be stored, our repository. After setting up the repository, we need to set up Docker. Here, okay, this depends on how you're building your project. It doesn't, the technologies don't matter, but if you're building your project, it depends on how you are going to deploy. It depends on the technologies you're using. That's why I'm saying I'm going to set up Docker. I need to set up my GitHub repository. I need to set up CI/CD with GitHub Action, and I need to set up AWS for hosting it. So this is the first thing you have to do when you're building your project. So these are not the things that these are not mandatory, but it depends on which technology you're using. So the epic, or the title of the user story, I'll just call it environment. Environment setup, like this. I think I'm writing wrong spelling of environment. Anyways, I think this is it. Environment setup. So what is the user story of the environment setup? So this will not be as a user now. You can make it as a user, but the environment is not for other users, it's for the developers. So the user story are always in this format. You start with us, and then the person who's using it, I must dash. This is the format. For example, if you are creating a user story for, let's say, for the auth service, let me show you here how I created this user story. As a user, I should be able to create a new account in Focus Flow as simple as clicking register page and registering using my credentials. This is example of user story. So our user story here will be different. It will be as a developer, because I'm setting up the environment. The environment is for developers. As a developer or as a software engineer, I must have, since here we are setting up GitHub, I must have a GitHub repository with the name of the feature. I must have a private GitHub repository. And then what is the name of our feature? That is Focus Flow course service. I must have a GitHub repository, Focus Flow course service, where I can store the code of the Focus Flow course service. That is one. So let me type it immediately. As a developer, I must have a GitHub repository where I can store Focus Flow course service code. By the way, this service will be built with Go, the same thing that I was learning yesterday, the same technology, that is Jing Go. Yesterday, what I covered in the live stream was I refactored the code. I worked with Docker. I configured Docker with that application. I configured Superbase for Postgres database, and I connected it to that. So that is the exact technologies that I was using yesterday is the same that I will be using for building this feature. And by the way, Go is a very good language for building microservices. If you are working with microservices, you need to learn Go. I'm telling you, Go is very good. I've experienced it. So yeah, as a developer, I must have a GitHub repository where I can store Focus Flow course service code. That is only one user story. Then later we shall break down this user story in 2 tasks. Are you seeing how things are coming now? It's making your work easy later. So what will be the acceptance criteria? The acceptance criteria is like, how can I prove that this user story is done? So the acceptance criteria is I must have a private GitHub repository. Is that the spelling? Repository with the name Focus Flow course service. Yeah, that is the acceptance criteria. So I already have the acceptance criteria, and then I need the priority. Am I going to make it today? Am I going to build it tomorrow? Or is it urgent? Is it not urgent? So it depends on you. I must say here must have means that it is urgent. I don't need notes. These notes will be placed by, let's say if I'm building this with someone else, they can add suggestion here within these notes. So, and then the Jira link, I did not yet add Jira link. So I have to now go to Jira and configure it. By the way, Jira is a project management tool. It's a tool where you can manage your sprint, or you can, a sprint is a time frame where you can build a software within 2 or 1 week. And then a sprint comes from another software life cycle, SDLC. I'm very sure people who are watching know SDLC. And within SDLC, there are so many methods of building application. There is waterfall, there is agile, there is iterative. So it depends on what you choose, and it depends also on your project. but most modern applications are built with agile methodology. So within agile methodology, you have a sprint, and within agile, you have something called a scrum. That is what I'm using now. So let me show you how to start a project on this. Let me come here, and then let's start a brand new project. Okay, this is the workspace that I'm choosing. And then type no, it's not here. It's supposed to be outside this. Okay, let me just create a workspace within the Jira. So within the workspace, it will show me, do I want to use a Scrum? Do I want to use general service management, product roadmap? It depends. So I always use a Scrum. So you can read more about the Scrum. If you want to learn more about project management, let me show you guys this link. This video from let me do it real quick without delaying. Let me see here. Google project management course. That course is very detailed about project management. That is where I learned project management, and that's where I learned Scrum and Agile. Let me say Google project management course. So this is the playlist. I think, was it this? Let me see.
Developing all kinds of skills through these tasks that'll help you become a successful project manager for any organization or your own business. With this program in Project Management by Google, we put together a set of courses, activities, quizzes, and exercises that'll teach you the fundamentals of project management. And of course, help you get a job or advance in your career. Wondering how I started my own career in project management? Well, in college, I always gravitated towards things that were more hands-on.
You need to have many skills. You don't know where you will work on in future. You don't know the institute that you will work on. Even at the school, you can be a project manager. So let me share the link with you guys. This is the link. So if you're interested, you can learn about it. It's very helpful. Yeah, okay. Let's use this Scrum board template. And then is it team manage? Select team manage, okay, it's team manage. And then we need to give it a name. I want to call mine focus flow course service. By the way, I'm supposed to use the other workspace that I created, but I just want to demonstrate this on how to do it. So it's still the same. I can, if I start using this, unless I continue using it. Yeah. So here, if I have someone that I need to add to join that, someone that I need to, let's say, if you want to work with me, I can have your email and add you here. And if I need to connect to my GitHub account, not yet, I will do them later. Yeah, so this is it. This is how it looks. You have, let's say, in the backlog, this backlog here. Backlog is where you paste all your user stories, and then you can have user stories, you can have bug fixes. As I said, I did not tell you this. When you are building a project in Agile, you can start building the project. After building the project, after completing the sprint, let's say within 2 weeks, you deliver the application, right? You give it to other users to use it. So with it, that application might not be perfect. Users might have complaint. So that complaint, you come and record them here as what? As bugs like this. As bugs like this one here. So after recording them as bugs, then the next time you start the users the sprint, the next time you start the next sprint, you will find like you have to prioritize the bugs that users sent. So you will add that, you will put the bug in within the sprint, and then you start fixing those bugs, and then you will release new version of the application. You will, maybe let's say the version was 0.01. Then if you fix bugs, you update the number, the last one. Let's say I build this feature and then I released it with version let's say 0.01. So as users were using it, you found like 2 bugs, and then I added the bug within the backlog, and then I fixed the bugs in the next sprint. So if I fix those 2 bugs, I will just change the number to this, which means I fixed 2 bugs. You can check in all the application, even let's say if you're using iOS, not iOS, even Android, you can see software version. In iOS, there is iOS 26 point something, right? So 26 point something point another, the last number. The last number is the number of bugs that was fixed. So the last number is the number of bugs, and then the middle number here is the features that you have added. Just the small features that you have added within the application. And then when this has changed, like let's say I change this, which means I have added a new upgrade. I've upgraded it from this version to a newer version. So that is how versioning works. You need to also learn about versioning. So as I was saying here, yeah, you need to record all your bugs, your user stories here. So let's start by creating our first user story within our backlog before we create a new sprint. Let's say, okay. Yeah, within this backlog, let me click here and then go and copy one of the user stories that we have created. That is this. As a developer, I must have a GitHub repository where I can add where I can save my code. Yeah, okay. Then you change this into story like this. It's kind of simple. So let's say create. So within my backlog, I have one user story and it named it FCS-6. As a developer, I must have a GitHub repository where I can store focus flow courses. Okay. So now I need to get the link of that Jira. I need to get the link of this story and paste it there. Let me start the sprint first. First move the sprint to this, yeah, before I start the sprint. So I can easily copy the link from on top here. Let me copy this, come back to my project management, come back to PRD, and then yeah, let it continue replacing it. And then, so let's say I created this PRD and then I'm working with someone else. I can easily share this Google Docs with let's say the other developers that are working with me. They can modify the PRD, and then they can easily view what I'm working on, the user stories. So this is one user story I've created. Let's go to the next user story. That is number 2. Still under environment setup. Let me just copy this and then paste it here. Still under environment setup. Then this user story will be about, let's say we set up GitHub. After setting up GitHub, what do you need? We need to set up Docker, right? After setting up Docker, what next? We need to set up CI/CD pipeline using GitHub Action. So there are 3 things. Oh, sorry, I need to I need to zoom this because it might look so small. Yeah, for sure. Guys, in the comment, you need to type in the chat if the text is too small. You need to tell me. If you are watching, man, say something. Say something in the chat. So is this too small? I think like this is okay. Yeah, it's seen very well on the laptop, but on a mobile phone, I don't know. I don't know where you're watching from. Your mobile phone, your laptop. But anyways, if you're watching on the desktop, it will be too big. So as a developer, I must have a Docker image of what I build saved in the Docker Hub so that I can use it for deploying the application later in AWS. Can make sense, right? So let me write it here. As a developer, I must have a Docker image pushed to Docker Hub of push to Docker Hub. I must have a Docker image pushed to Docker Hub so that I can use the image to deploy the application to AWS. So this is one user story. And then what will be the acceptance criteria? The acceptance criteria for me to achieve this is I must have a Docker image pushed to Docker Hub. So that I can use that Docker image to deploy the application to AWS. Yeah. I must have a Docker image pushed to Docker Hub so that I can deploy the application to AWS. So what is the priority of this is must have. I must have this so that I can easily move forward. So let me add this to Jira. Can copy this user story and then go to my Jira board. Where was it? It was this. And then I can, and within the backlog, I can add new user story and then create. So this is one user story. I now have two user stories. Let me push them within this sprint too. Okay. So you might ask, how many user stories can you build within a single sprint? Because a user story is kind of big like a feature. It depends on the user story. So according to me, it's like within 2 weeks, with all the projects that I build, within 2 weeks, I can manage to, like, let's say, complete 3 user stories maximum, and 2 weeks is a sprint. So, but since this is environment setup, and I have done this multiple times, it doesn't require me to take much of that time. So I have to take time in building features, not setting up environment. So this environment setup can be like one day I can do everything. I can set up everything. Docker, can set up GitHub repository, can set up only CI/CD pipeline. It gives hard time, so it has a lot of bugs to be fixed. But building the software itself is the one that you must have 3 user stories in a week. But it depends on the number of developers working on the software. Let's say you're working as a team, it might be even shorter than that. It might be, let's say, 2 weeks is a lot. It might be like it might okay, not 2 weeks is a lot. A user story can be like you can finish it within let's say 2 days. 3 user stories can be finished within 2 days, or you can have like multiple user stories in the sprint if you are working as a team. That's basically what I mean. So yeah, this is one user story, and then I need to also within the environment setup, I need to set up the CI/CD pipeline using GitHub Action. I need to create the user story for it. That is number 3. And then as part of environment setup, and then I must say here as a user, not as a user by the way, as a developer. As a developer, I must have a CI/CD pipeline using GitHub Action, so that when I push code to the main branch, the application should immediately build and deploy to AWS EC2 instance. Spelling of immediately. Yeah. So this is one important user story that I need to build. When I create that, when I push code to the main branch, the application should build. First of all, should build. By build, what I mean is it should create the users. It should create the Docker image. It should push it to Docker Hub. It should log into my AWS account. It should deploy this code within EC2 instance. So this is what I want to achieve with this user story. First of all, the acceptance criteria is to first of all is build the Docker image, and then push to Docker Hub, and then the next thing is what? Deploy to AWS EC2 instance. Yeah, AWS EC2 instance is like it's just like a private computer, a virtual computer given to you by AWS where you can host the application. My boy grinding, let's go. Yeah, thank you, bro. Thank you for watching, man. I hope you're benefiting, man. I'm not seeing you nowadays on the live stream, on your live stream. I don't know what's happening. I hope everything is good, man. I hope everything is good. And tell me how far with your grind? How far? So, yeah, this is it with this user story, and this is the acceptance criteria. And the priorities must have. So this must be built within the specific time. So yeah, I have this user story. Let me also copy it, and then let me go to my Jira, paste it here, generate it. So yeah, I have 3 user stories now. I think I need to add more. I have build. Yeah, these 3 user stories are for this sprint only. And then there's one thing I forgot to tell you guys is like when you're building your application, let's say after creating the PRD like this, you're not supposed to create all the user stories of the total feature here. No, you only have to plan for the sprint that you're working in. Let's say I'm working on the sprint let's say the sprint is environment setup. Within that sprint, I must create the user stories for that sprint alone. And then the user stories for the next sprint will be created in the next sprint, just like that. Because the sprint is just like a project you're building within a time frame. So you don't need to think of other projects. So you just think of it like that. So this sprint, I'm only working on the environment setup. When I go to the next sprint, I'll work on. When I go to the next sprint, let's say I'll work on the real features of the application. That's when I have to create their user stories. So let me think of any user story that is left out of this. No, within environment setup, we have setting up Docker. Okay, we have setting up GitHub repository and setting up setting up a CI/CD pipeline. And these are the acceptance criteria. Yeah, I don't think there's anything apart from this after setting this, unless it's building the features. So let me copy this to GitHub. No, sorry, at GitHub. Let me copy it to. Oh, I already copied it here. I must have a CI/CD pipeline. Okay. Are you sure? I must have a CI/CD pipeline using GitHub. Yeah. Okay. So let me just get the link to this user story, and then paste it here. This is where the link of this user story must be, and I also need to get the link of the other of this user story. I need to paste it here. Where is it? This. Yeah, paste it here. Yeah, replace this. By the way, I copied wrong. Oh, sorry. But I got rid of everything. Damn. Again, remove this. What is happening with this guy? Okay. I need to get this link now. So I need to paste it here and replace it with this. Yeah, I have this PRD now ready with these requirements. I think the next step is to break down now the user story into tasks. So there is a lot when it comes to building a project. It's not just something that you just come today, have an idea, oh, I need to build this, and then you start, okay, you need to start coding direct. No, it doesn't work that way. It works in your experimental projects, but it doesn't work in building something that the other users are going to use. You need to build something robust. You need to build something, at least you need something that should be well thought. You cannot just start right now and say, I want to build this, and then you just, you say, okay, let me start. Where should I start? Okay, let me start building the authentication. No, it doesn't work that way. What if you get bugs later? How will you fix it? I think this is the thing that causes the imposter syndrome. So when we come to breaking down the user stories, you will understand how really software engineers work in a company. Let me show you from the user story that you see here. Requirements breakdown. You have the user story. As a user, I should be able to create an account in Focus Flow, right? That was a user story. Then tasks to be done in that user story. These are the tasks. Create a new Laravel sanctum, create this and create this and create this. So yeah, this is the breakdown of this. Okay. Now I have to break down this. Let me copy this requirements breakdown here. That was for the pass authentication. The template here, it was the one I used for building the authentication service. But now I'm building a new service. I'm following the same template to show you guys how to do it. So actually, this approach here I learned it from. I don't remember the guy I learned it from, but yeah, okay. This is this approach I learned it from someone who was working in Apple, and then he was giving the example with how Apple was creating the AirPod Pro. So when they are creating AirPods Pro, this is the template. Not only AirPods Pro, all their products they create using this such kind of template. I remember it was here. Let me show you the PRD for AirPods Pro. Let me see, Google Docs. I even downloaded the PRD for that. It was here. We'll get rid of this. And then there's resume, for sure. Have it among my notes. Aha. I see PRD AirPods Pro. Let me click on it. So this is how Apple made their PRD. Check how organized it is. Okay, this is a very big project. That's why the PRD is. That's why the PRD has a lot of files, has a lot of pages. This is it. Project number. They have the company, project category. That is this. And then introduction. They need objective, the stakeholders, and then use cases, user stories. As I was telling you, this user story. Here with their user story, they are creating it as user personas. User persona is like a profile of a user. So these are the image, the mockups. So everything is given to you guys. So why should we create something like this? Why shouldn't we create something like this? That's what I mean. So I think we need to there's nothing that you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You need to what? Copy from other successful companies, other people who are successful. So yeah, if this is the PRD of this and this is our own PRD, we have copied the same approach. This was the old one, okay. So as I was talking, I was in user story requirements breakdown. Requirements breakdown. Just here, let me break down the requirement. Let me break down the user stories. Requirement breakdown. So we need to have the user story. This is the user story. And then which user story do I want to break down is this. This is the simplest user story. I feel like I can't even create it with right now. Let me paste it here. Paste this user story here. I'll also paste this above it. Yeah, something like this. User, but this is not supposed to be user registration, by the way. This is this. Where was it here? Okay, I need to remove this. Paste this. Get rid of this one. I think I need to make it bold. Yeah, environment setup. As a user, I must have a GitHub repository where I can store my focus flow course service. Okay, so after doing that, I need the task. I think task to be done. What are the tasks to be done to create this? The task to be done is super simple. Let's say, okay, let me just type it. Log into GitHub, create a new GitHub repository in focus flow organization. Yeah, basically these are the two tasks that I need to be done here. Let me unbold them, reduce the size, and also change it into I don't like numbers. I like was it to-dos? Let me check it here. I think it was like this, yeah. To-dos. Get rid of this and get rid of this. So these are the two. By the way, these organizations in GitHub is like a workspace. a workspace where you can have multiple repositories. Let me just give you a simple example of how organizations look like when I open my GitHub. So in GitHub, let me come here. As you can see, I have only repositories and I have organizations, right? Let me go to repository. Repositories, I can have as many repositories as I want. Like these are the repositories I have, right? But let's say I'm building a microservice that has many repositories. So, and each that has many services, each service has to be hosted and has to have its own code base, right? And there are two approaches. There's another approach where you can use monorepo. A monorepo is like a repository that has a lot of source code. That has all the services are within one repository. So if you have auth services within the same repository with core service with other services, so that is one approach. And these big companies sometimes they use this monorepo. And the other companies that have organizations in GitHub is like you can have each service as a standalone. As a standalone, it means that each service is hosted differently and it has its own repository. And all the services comes under one organization. So let me show you the organizations. Like this, I have this organization here. I go to organizations. I have these organizations. This is the organization for Focus Flow and Code 50. Code 50 was another. It is organization for, let's say if you join CS50. CS50 is Harvard University course about computer science. So if you join their course, they give you, they include you into their organization, their GitHub organization, where you can add your repos. Okay, I hope I'm not lagging. All right, I'm not lagging. So you need to comment if the sound is not clear. If anything is not clear, by the way, don't just leave it to go. you need to like be in the chat there and ask questions. Yeah, so this is the organization that I have. So that repository, let's say I start working on the task, I will create the repository here. This is, by the way, this is the auth service that I'm talking about. The auth service where you find the PRD. And then this is the old course service, but I'm now rebuilding it. So I will not use this. I will not, because I'm not migrating, I will just abandon this and then I will create a new course service. So within the PRD, yeah, I have these two tasks. Now let's add these two tasks within, let's add these two tasks to my Jira workspace. So I have to click this, and then come to subtask here, this subtask, and then I can add subtask. That is login to GitHub, add it, and then come to this, because this is subtask of the user story. Think of it like this. You have a big goal, and then within that goal, you have other smaller goals. You need to achieve the smaller goals before you achieve the bigger goal. That is it, like that, yes. So, yeah. And then let's break down the remaining two user stories. That is still the environment setup. Let me just do this. Okay, user story. Environment setup, where is it? Here it's supposed to be user story, by the way. I don't know why I messed up. User story, like this. So let me paste the other user story also. Let me copy this. User story. And then copy the second user story. As you can see, is now things are becoming more clear. So as a developer, I must have a Docker image push to Docker Hub so that I can use the image to deploy the application to AWS. AWS, right? And then task to be done. Here doesn't involve a lot of tasks too. So the task to be done is, let me just copy one task so that I can delete it. And let me see which. Okay, I'm just using this user. Okay. The light mode is becoming a lot. I hope that some guys hate light mode. I need to change this to dark mode, man, because I'll be spending a lot of hours here and it's not healthy for the eyes. So what are the tasks to be done here? As a developer, I must have a Docker image. To have a Docker image, what should I do? Is to have a Docker image, I must have a Docker file, that is setup Docker file. Setup Docker file. Setup Docker file to build the code. Building the code is basically like compiling it to build the code. And Go is a compile language, so it has to compile. It has to. I need the way of compiling it so that I can deploy it for other users to use it. So I need to set up Docker file to build the code. So what next? After setting up the Docker file to build the code, I must have a Docker image. And then, by the way, pushing it to Docker Hub, I don't have to do it manually. It will be done by the CI/CD pipeline. So yeah, this is the only task that I can do for this. Just set up Docker file to build and compile the application. So let me add it as a subtask to this user story. Click on this and then come here to subtask, add this. So let's work on the final user story of the sprint, of this sprint, before I start the sprint. Here, this is the user story. So let me go back to this. Okay, where is that user story? This user story, I feel like the last user story is the one that has a lot of tasks to be done. Where are you? It's down here. So as a developer, I must have a CI/CD pipeline using GitHub Action so that when I push code to main branch, the application should immediately build and deploy to AWS EC2 instance. Okay, let's work on the subtask now, task to be done. The first task to be done here is to set up GitHub Action. Set up GitHub Action. Set up GitHub Action. By the way, GitHub Action is like is what you use for CI/CD pipeline. You see, if you use Vercel, you use Netlify, all these, they under the hood they use GitHub Action. What they do is, like, when you push code to your main branch, it builds the code. Let's say if your code is JavaScript or TypeScript, it builds it using PNPM or npm build, and then it will build the code. If there is no any error, it will immediately deploy it to you when you don't know. So since we are not using Vercel, we are not using Netlify, we need to set up our own CI/CD pipeline because we are using AWS EC2. Most of these things use AWS under the hood. So yeah, First thing is to set up GitHub Action. After setting up GitHub Action, so we can even see it from here, set up GitHub Action for pipeline, okay, so that when I push code to the main branch, the application should immediately build and deploy to AWS. After setting up GitHub Action, we need to set up our AWS also. Set up EC2 instance. After setting up the EC2 instance, to make sure that we can manage to build and deploy our application. Okay, yeah, set up EC2 and set up this. I think these are the only two things. If I set up GitHub Action, I set up EC2, then maybe push to trigger, let's say trigger GitHub Action to push, or let me just say connect GitHub Action. But I feel like this is done during the build immediately. So if I set up the GitHub Action, it involves connecting to our EC2 and pushing code to it. So yeah, and I even the order matters. I have to set up EC2 first, because if I don't have EC2, I cannot manage to test my GitHub Action. Yeah, I feel like that is it. So as a developer, yeah, these are the only two tasks: build and deploy this. So let me just add the task to this, our Jira board within this. Then I'm about to start the sprint. And if you start the sprint, you need to have a goal of your sprint. So I have to also set up this. Set up this here. Yeah, I have this and I have two tasks now. Okay, since I have broken down the task into requirements, I have broken down the user stories into simpler tasks. I need to now start the sprint and then set up the time that I will be. I feel like this should only take 1 day. And by 1 day, what I mean is like from right now, maybe up to tomorrow at a specific time, all of this must have been done. Or I'll try my best to do it. Maybe I can manage to work on the two user stories, and then as a developer, the CI/CD pipeline can come tomorrow. But let me just try my best if I can manage to set them up right now. So let me start here, start the sprint. So I need to have the sprint goal. I'll get rid of this. So get rid of this from here. I need to have the sprint goal. The sprint goal. This thing is telling me the sprint should take 2 weeks, but I don't think so. Let me even change the sprint name to this. Let me change the sprint name to environment setup. Good. Let's get back to Jira. Environment setup 1 week. Then the goal of the sprint, I think I have it here. The goal of this sprint is to, okay, The goal of this sprint is to set up the development environment for focus flow cost service feature. No, focus flow cost service only. The goal of this sprint is to set up a course, set up the environment, environment. I know I wrote a wrong spelling. Environment. I feel like this is the most difficult. I don't know why I always forget the spelling of environment. If you have a lot of things in your mind, so you forget the easy thing. All right. I just didn't pay much attention to it, but let me master it. environment. Okay. Environment. Set up the environment for focus flow cost service. By the way, this service will be built with Golang and it will be built using Gin. Boom, we are starting the sprint. We are starting the sprint. These are the work that I have in the sprint. And I have to choose the space. Okay, let me just choose this space. So let me see, this space has something. Okay, this is the original space, and then this is the boot. Yeah, I have three user stories that are in progress. I have 3 user stories that are on progress. So I have to that are the status is to do. So I have to add the status of that. So I have to like drag the user story that I want to use, the user story that I want to build to be in progress. So how can I do that? I can just drop this. As a developer, I must have GitHub repository where I can store course services and course services, service code. Okay, I have to drag this here. That means that this user story is in progress. So I have to click on it because I also have subtasks. These are the things that I will be working on. I have to put them on progress too rather than being on to do. So okay, log into GitHub. Why am I having it? Log into GitHub. Okay, I have to change. This is just a subtask. Okay, but I will have to change the name. Basically, this subtask is for me to log into GitHub and create a repository. So I have this user story that is in. I have this user story. And then I have the subtask. And the next thing is, let me come to my timeline and view. Okay, I have this user story, and then I need to create an epic for it, which is I have this user story that is there, and then I have the task, right? And then when I come to this click, this will add the user story. I need to add epic. So it has added this as epic one, but let me create an epic for it. As I said, epic is something like a task that can be completed within many sprint. Can be 2 or 3 sprint. But I'm very sure this epic is only for. Okay, this epic can be for the whole course service. So let me say course service. So this epic can be completed within many user stories. So yeah, let me create the epic, and then these user stories I can add this epic to them when I come to board, and then I add here. I click here. Now this is story point. I will come and also talk about the story point, but the epic. Let me click on it. I think I have to add it from the backlog. Let me come to backlog, and then here this is summary. Okay, add epic. I can add epic here. Should be in the cost service. Cost service is supposed to be cost feature, not service, but I will edit the epic. So now I have this epic. I have these user stories. I have added epics to them, and I have added subtasks, and I have added them in progress. So I have to start working on the individual user stories since I started the sprint. May take some water. Really time. Huh?
You're talking to yourself.
I know, live streaming.
Where's the camera?
Hmm?
Where's the camera?
Which camera? I'm just screen recording.
Oh.
There are people watching here. What I'm doing is I'm explaining the work and the thought process. I did a lot here.
Is your mic not open?
The mic is open.
No, you're talking to me.
No problem. But this is just a stream. Yeah.
How many people are watching so?
I'm not sure, but I will check.
That's how progress starts. Boom, boom, boom. Very good. That's on YouTube or Twitch?
This is YouTube. So enough with that now. I've created the user stories. I've created the subtask. The next thing is now the implementation. I even started from the PRD. So far, if you reach if you reach this stage, then you don't have anything. You just need to start executing now. You need to start building. So this is how work is done in most companies. In fact, all the companies. So if you want to start building a project, you need to follow the guideline, because this will help you later. This will help you later in future. Let's say you want to add other features, you want to add updates. We talked about all of these things. We talked about even versioning your application. How can you add version depending on if you added a feature or if you fixed a bug? How will you version it? All this happens around here. You don't need to just go straight to code. So since we have done everything, I think it's time for us to start executing this user story, which is log into GitHub, create a new GitHub repository. Okay, log into GitHub and create a new GitHub repository. We already logged into our organization here. We can just create a new repository here, and then the name of that, let's say focus flow cost service. Focus flow cost service. I don't need it to be in capital, just like this. Yeah. So let me say this is cost service build with golang. Then I need it to be private. Licensing, all this stuff. The DNV readme is on. Okay. So let me create it. We are creating the first task and we shall mark it. Yeah, we created the first task. Then let's go and mark this as done. From in progress to done. So the next thing is to create a new GitHub repository in the, yeah, this is also done. We logged in and this is done. Like this. So if we are done with this user story, we just drag it here. Sometimes a user story can take, like, let's say the full day you are working on it. If you are working on real feature, not just environment setup. But since we are setting up environment, you see as it happens just within minutes. So as a developer, I must have Docker image push to Docker Hub so that I can use this Docker image to deploy to AWS. Okay. All right. So this is the next user story, and then let's see what are the tasks we have. Set up the Docker. Okay. I feel like this might take a lot of time. So because we are going to set up Docker file, build the code, and then push it. So for us to do that, we need to get this code, and we need to get this code in our local environment. So let me get the link, and then I don't need WebStorm right now. Let me open golang. Since I will be using golang, I need to open golang. So we are already done with this project, but let it just be in a side because we will use it later. Open. Yeah, we shall open this, but let's open our terminal to get the code in our environment. Terminal to get the code to pull the code from GitHub. I use item. Where is my item? Okay. So I can say git clone, and then let me paste the link that it's cloning that repository here now. Yeah, I've already cloned the repository. Let me type else. Where are you? Is here? Oh, I cloned it in the wrong directory. I don't need it here. Let me cd to software development. I need it to be organized. Cd to software development, and then golang projects. Let me see how many projects do I have. This is it. No, I wasn't using it. I don't want it in golang projects even. I need it in focus flow repo. Focus flow repo. This is where all the repositories belonging to focus flow should be. And then when I type else, I have all of it. I have here course management. This was the old one, and then I have focus flow user authentication service. So let me clone it here. Git clone. Yeah. Let me start cloning. Okay. Else. I now have it here. Focus flow course service. The one with capital letters. So I can easily open it in golang now here. Open, and then what I need to open is we go to users, software development, focus flow repo, and then it is focus flow course service. Open in this window. Okay, trust, no problem. Yeah. I only have now .env. I have empty project. I have empty project initialized. So let me create the first folder structure. But before doing that, I need to do go init. I need to say go initialize. It is go mode init, then the name of the mode. I want to call it focus flow course service. like this. Okay. I've already created the Go mode. Then I can easily create folders here now. Can come to this, and then I need to create a directory. I call it cmd. This is where main.go will be, and then I have to create within this. I need to create also a Go file, and then call it main.go like this, and then add the package. Okay. I have Go mode, and then I have main.go. Yeah, so here I can easily start. I can start working on the project. Let me increase the size, and then I also need to, I think, increase the size of the CMD. So here I can, let me just write the testing initialization code. Let me import fmt, fmt in short is just format. And then after importing fmt, I can create the main function from main, and then this. Then I can use fmt print hello world like this, and then this is just for the starter. And then let me try to run it. Go run cmd. We are going to slash cmds. Run to cmd slash. Sorry, I have to transfer this into server, because this will be the server. So I need the directory, and then should I call it API or server? But well, all of them can work. Well, since this will be the server, let me just call it server, and then let's this put this here. Yeah, add a refactor it. Okay, no problem. Yeah, we have server, and then main.go. Yeah, let's try to run it. Now we successfully run the hello world, but that is not our aim. Our aim is to dockerize this. We need to write the docker. We need to write the docker file code in order to dockerize this. So to do that, we can follow the same, because yesterday we worked on this. Let me open the other one. Open this. It was Gene Basics, software development. It was in Go projects. Golden, and then I have Gene Basics. Yeah. Open in new window. Okay, I'm opening a new window. Yeah. So I have this docker file in, that was in yesterday's project. Let me see this docker file. I think that's the same thing we'll be doing to our project. We'll be having the same docker file. We need to pull the docker image, and then check add projects. Add projects. Okay. Add the required not required environment, but the required packages. This is how we do them. And then copy the whole code, and then run. Download the mood, and then run it. Where are you going? You look smart.
Tomorrow's outfit.
Tomorrow you're going to school?
Yeah.
I don't know why you don't wear this clothes. It's good like that. Mm. It's nice. Absolutely good.
I have another substitute t-shirt here.
Mm.
I want to see which one goes better. I want you to give me your feeling.
But this crop top is dope.
This one is also good.
Yeah. This crop top?
Okay, it's just like a mini crop top, half crop top.
No, that one is better. But this one is nice.
This one is, huh?
But this is the best.
That means tomorrow I'll go with this, next tomorrow I'll use this.
This trouser, even the shoes, everything is matching.
Okay, man, accept.
Yeah.
That means tomorrow I'll use the white one, and next tomorrow exam, so I'll go with this.
Can you help me charge this mouse? With your Type-C charger. That's why I'm using this. So, yeah. I have done this. I have to get the whole of this code in order for my Docker to, in order to Dockerize this. That's why I want you to connect it from outside. I will come and get it. So I need to copy the whole of this and then create a Docker file to add this code. Docker file add, and then I have to get rid of this and paste this. Yeah, so I have to run this and make sure it is working so that I can. And for me to run this, I need to use Docker Compose. I need to use Docker Compose, but I feel like without Docker Compose this can work. Docker Compose is just for my local development. I need to test it just locally first using Docker build. Docker build, but for me to build this I need to have a lot of -t. I have to put a lot of this. That's why using Docker Compose is better. Let me see, let me change this to let me just set up Docker Compose so that I can just save my time during debugging. I set it yesterday. I can use the same Docker Compose, but the only thing is yesterday I was using Superbase, but today I'm not going to use. Yesterday I was using connection to I had connection to Superbase, but today I don't need connection to Superbase. But I feel like this will work though the connection string is still there. Let me add also a new file. Then it's just empty file. Is docker-compose.yaml. I have to make sure the correct spelling. docker-compose.yaml. Okay. Here I have to click on this. Right. Then docker-compose.yaml like this. Yeah. Then add it. Okay. This is supposed to be outside this. It's supposed to be outside the. It's supposed to be in the root directory with the Docker file. And put it in the root directory. Refactor it. And then also the Docker file is supposed to be in the root directory. Refactor. Yeah. So let's see. Let me confirm everything. I have the CMD. I have the server. Yeah, and then I have the root directory, I have the go mood, I have everything. And then this is the code to Docker. And then let's get the Docker Compose code, which is here. I already worked on it yesterday. Let me copy it. Remove this, copy this, and then paste it here. Yeah, basically that is it. So I have to test this now. I need to test it. I have to make sure it is. I have to make sure it is working before I check it on Jira. Docker Compose app. All the debugging will be here. Configuration not provided. Well, this cost service. Not clear. Let me see Docker. I already have Docker Compose is saying Docker Compose is not provided. Docker Compose. Let me just see here to give me the option. We have up, we have stop, state, run, push. These are all the options. Docker Compose and then command help. Okay. I ran this yesterday. I don't know why. This is initializing the mood. This is running the server. This is Docker Compose. Let me say up. No configuration file provided, and the configuration file is here. Let me type else to see. I have Docker file. Docker. Let me run it again. Docker Compose up, and then let me copy this and put it as the third parameter. Let me compare it with this, the one I created yesterday. Docker Compose up dash dash v. Okay, it's supposed to be like this. Docker dash compose. And get rid of this. And also get rid of this. Okay. Let me paste this here. Docker compose up dash dash build. Still getting no configuration provided, and I already have the configuration. Let me try it with this. Okay. Docker compose. Docker compose up. Not this. Docker dash compose. Is absolute valid. No, please remove potential confusion. I think there's a problem here. I don't know why it's not. Let's see. Let me go back to this. I've created a Docker compose file and Docker file. So how can I trigger the build? I'm getting this error. Since your Docker file is this. Yeah, this is actually the best way to do that, but I don't know why it is. I don't know why it is not triggering the Docker file. Maybe my Docker file is not in the root directory. Okay, I have Docker Compose and this. They're all in the root directory. Here, that's the same thing. Docker file and Docker Compose.yaml. Or maybe it's the spelling. Okay, it's the spelling. It's supposed to be Docker Compose instead of Docker Composer. So I have to rename it to Docker Compose. That's the only error, this R. Right. Let's start fresh now. Docker Compose up. Okay, now we got another cannot connect to Docker. Okay. So I have to start the Docker daemon. Oh, how the hell this guy is called it diamond or demon. The Docker daemon. So yeah, since Docker is already started, let me try to build it again. Yeah, it's building. It's building using Docker Compose. So that's it. We need to start debugging. Go run, mood, download, copy go. First about caching. Let's see error build. Working directory add. docker file, docker, you have go move that file first for better caching. Okay, let me first get this error and then let's debug it there. Let's debug it, and then the good thing with this is, like, let's say we fixed everything at once, later we'll not have to be debugging again. The error failed to calculate the checksum. Go means that Docker is looking for go.sum file in your folder where you are running log, but can't find it. This usually happens one of the two reasons. The file is missing, you haven't run go mutard yet to generate go checksum in correct directory. You run Docker compose from the wrong folder. The root file, the go file in the sub. Step 1, to ensure the fix exists, I have to run this. Okay. Step 2, verify your folder structure. Make sure your files are arranged like this. Go move, go sub, Docker file, Docker compose, yeah, and then change this to this, and then try to run. Okay, let's follow this step. Let's follow this fix very fast and paste it here. Okay, this is created, and then okay, this is my directory, this is how it is, and then let me change this in the Docker file. So I can click on my Docker file. Where was this? I think it was here. Let me paste it near it. So let me paste it. Yeah. So copy go.mode. Okay. Let me remove this now. And then let's try to rebuild it. Docker compose come. Then I need to have a break and then come back when everything is working. Oh, I'm getting error. Okay. Error being a conflict container and basic already existing. Alright. I have to sorry, I have to change this. And I need to also, like, in my Docker compose, remove this connection because I will not be using it. I need to use this, and then I need to change this name. I need to change this name from, we'll call it focus flow course service. I hope this name also exists. I hope it doesn't exist. I mean, hope it doesn't exist. Yeah, everything is correct. Everything has been. So when I do docker ps, okay, the container has run and stopped immediately. So let me say docker images to see the available images. We have this RabbitMQ, Office Pilot, have my goal, this is to do. I have a lot of images. Workers flow, cost service. This is different one. Let me confirm it here. But anyways, we don't have any error, so everything is. Let me go to, I don't think it's containers. Yeah, it is this one. It is this container. Let me run it from here. So though I run it, this is not an API, so it has to. It only shows hello world because it shows hello world only within this. I created this container, and then what was the image? I did not give it image name, by the way. I have to. But anyways, this is the container name. Okay, yeah. It builds and we tested it that it builds. So the next, let's mark it on our GitHub, on our Jira environment here. Setup Docker. I think that is the only one. That's the only task for this. Before we do our last task, this is done, and then push it to done here. I hope this is. I hope we are not lagging. Sometimes this thing can lag. Okay, thank God you are not lagging. So yeah, we are done with this and we are done with this. The next step is, as a developer, I must have a CI/CD pipeline using GitHub Actions so that when I push code to the main branch, the application should immediately build and deploy to AWS EC2. So we need to do that. We need to put this in progress. And then, let me see. Let's first go to our code and confirm everything. We have the Docker image. We have a simple CMD, and then we have server. We have main.go that shows only this. So what we need to do next is to set up GitHub Action so that this can be deployed direct in AWS. So let me go back to this. How can I configure this with GitHub Action? How can I configure this with GitHub Actions? Let me go to my GitHub. Let me first push these changes to the main branch. Small changes here. So git add dot git commit -m initialize the application. So git push dash u origin main. Clear this. Yeah, I already pushed it in the main branch. So let me go to my GitHub, then refresh it. Yeah, I already have only this setup. Simple.env with Docker file. Oh, some things are supposed to be in Docker. Ignore. But okay, most of the things will be refactored later. So suggested workflows, that's why it's saying here, push to Docker container, build test and push email to a Docker container. And then let me go to actions. Let me configure one action for this. I think I have to configure this, build to Docker. Yeah. Let me configure this. And then let me commit it. Add Docker image, workflow, okay. Yeah. So I have to go back to the application and pull the changes. Git pull origin main. Pull origin main. Okay. Yeah, I already have the workflow. The workflow. You want to take something now?
Yeah, like my fucking parents.
So yeah, I pull these changes. That is the changes for the changes for getting the Docker image. The changes for adding the CI/CD pipeline, which is here. Workflow, which is this Docker image. So I will not be using this YAML configuration. My own YAML configuration that I will be experimenting with is this. Setup Docker build, and then first of all is the command will be here. Is I want the .env file to be in a private repository and pull it during the build. And I also want to deploy this within my EC2 in AWS, yes, just like this workflow, except just like this workflow. Let me give you the example workflow with one workflow that I had. As in, I'll go to focus flow, and then I have my own repositories. I have the auth service. I have two workflow: AWS task definition, network, image, focus flow, auth container, image, this put and everything, CPU. I don't know why this failed. No, not it was not this. I think it was in GitHub workflows here. AWS.yaml. Okay. So here we have things required for Docker Hub, and then credentials required for. Here's the token for us to connect to our repository, and then we're also proxying that to running the Nginx, proxying it to port 88. What was in port 8080? Like proxy here, auth service, Nginx, HTTP auth service port 80 with this. And then Docker binary, okay. Final deployment complete, okay. Let me just copy this. I'm gonna copy the whole of this workflow and then show it to our AI here as an example of the workflow, just like this. And then we will start debugging from there. The implementation, to implement this securely, we need to adapt the EC2 style workflow for AWS EC2 Elastic Container while managing private config. In EC2, we do not use .env file. Instead, the standard AWS is to inject secret directly from AWS Secret Manager or parameters. Update your GitHub workflow to pull from a private repo and then deploy to EC2. So here check. Okay. Config login. There's the login. Secret AWS, the secret key. Okay, get the AWS secret key. Get the access key. The region. Get the .env from your private config. Yeah, this is how we are getting it. Okay. Name and this. And then step 3, update your EC2. Okay, let's see now. Let's say give me the full YAML file. Full YAML configuration. To implement this, we'll use multi-job workflow. Yeah, that is it. I need. For this YAML file to work, you must configure 3 things: AWS console, S3 bucket, create a bucket AD, and to ensure EC2 task execution run live. Object permission for bucket, task definition for EC2, GitHub access. Yeah, you need to have all this. For the ELV is only used for the application code, not for AWS. That's the ELV. And then the other thing is the ELV is only for the application, not for the code. And then these repos, which mean for the end, I don't need S3 bucket. The implementation will be in future. Implementation will be in the future. I understand you want to keep strictly within the application context and you are not reading AWS Secret Manager yet. The most direct way is to handle this, to inject this during Docker build process. Since the env secrets will you pull from your private repo. Okay, yeah. Deploy to this, the full workflow. Okay, deploy to this. This is when the main branch is triggered. Check this, pull the .env, pull from private repositories, pull the Docker secrets, and then force EC2 to pull the latest image, build and push the .env, and then AWS secret key, this name, run AWS update, cluster, focus flow, cluster, force the EC2 to pull the latest image. Let me give it the other approach so that it cannot use the same approach here. Use this approach. Everything must be the same, including I need to also proxy this to, I need Nginx to proxy the code. I need the Nginx to proxy all the requests from port 8080 to port 80. That is the HTTP port, including the Nginx proxy. The application must be configured to receive traffic from port 8080, from port 80 to port 8080. This thing must give me the correct configuration so that I can have less time to debug. Since you want to maintain the exact same approach as your EC2 deployment using SSH and manual Docker command, but targeting port 80 for Go service, here is a full update YAML. Okay, deploy the auth service. Okay, this is not the auth service. This is not the auth service. This is cause service build Go. And this is cause service built with Go. We need to remove all the Laravel specific command like listen and ensure the flow is optimized for Go binary. In Go, your application usually compiles a single executable and will ensure that the Nginx correctly route that. Yeah. So this is the Nginx. We have to put our EC2 host, our EC2 user, EC2 SSH key. Okay. And then after doing that, creating Nginx port 80 to port 8080, yes. Cause service from port 80 to port 8080. So this is how it will be. Cause service port 8080, it will configure to port 80. Cleaning the all containers, sudo stop service engine, sudo docker rm cause service if it exists. Pulling the latest container, and then cause service file to start. Cause service Go is running on port 8080. Starting Nginx and then verify. Cause binding Go is likely mean that Go ensures your server is running on port 8080, or it will set that localhost 8080 Nginx container won't be able to read it. Environment loading, since the .env make sure your Go uses library like go.to Okay, let me just get this. The rest of the things we will see them in action. Within this docker.yaml, replace this here. Why am I having warnings? But these are just warnings, these are not errors. So what I need to do is to install let me install Jing and try to run a simple hello world route. Go get let's say github.com/gin. What was the command to install gin? Let me get it from here. Command to install gin. Let me install gin. Install gin and install .env. We get gin. What is the time? Oh, today I stream for long. At least 2 hours now. And within 2 hours, I did a lot of things. So, yeah, at least. Okay, I've added gin. When we go to server.go, here I have to change this to, I need to create a simple route. Import gin, and then initialize it, and then call this out, and then run this. Okay, we'll create this API route very fast. Rather than having hello world here, I need to say r is equals to gin.default. Then I can say r.get gin. Here we have the context. Then what do you need to return? You need to return a message. Then here I need to say up and up. Up and running. Up and running. So I need to run it from here now. Need to run of this running on port 8080, but there's something here that run this one on port 8080. Yeah. I think this is the default port in Go. Running on port 8080. So let me try to run it first. Go run / this. Listening and serving HTTP. Okay. So let me open Bruno and try to test that. So let me go to Go. I think I have to add new collection now since it's supposed to be Go. No, this is supposed to be focus flow cost service. Like this, the location. Okay. No problem, this should be the location. Yeah. So I will come to this, then add a request. Request name, we'll call this request health, and then the URL http / localhost port 8080. Let me try to run the request. Why is it refusing to run? Get request localhost port 8080. Connect refuse to port 8080. Let's see what is the error. No port run. Okay. I think the error is from here, like this. We'll try to run it again. Listening. Okay, let me try to run something. Yeah, we tried getting something now. The API is working, so I have to install the .env now. Installing. Steps to install .env. Then after installing this .env, we have to trigger our workflow. From this live stream, my subscribers just doubled. Like from live stream, my subscribers doubled.
How many so?
I was having 15, they're now 25.
Oh.
It's progress. And
How many people are watching on Twitch?
right now, most people left now. Everyone left because I took long.
How many people are left with now?
I'm only left with only 1 or 2 by then.
Okay.
Right. But I have to do it regardless.
You can't just leave
No.
the viewers just like hanging out.
It's not for the viewers, but also for my own benefit of the project. My others will come and get and watch later. I've downloaded the .env. Let me also create this. Go mute this. Paste it. Yeah. Go mute downloading. Okay. So the next thing is to create the .env file. So I need to create it in the root directory and then load it there. Touch.env. Right? I must make sure I'm in the root. Yeah. I'm in the root. I already created it. Where is it? .env. And then let me copy some content of .env from here. That's the database URL, which will be used later. I will use it later, but not right now. But it should be there, yes, for the sake of it being there. So I've created the .env. Let me load it here. Okay. Let me load it here. How it is being loaded is like this. Import it. Load the .env file for me. Okay. So I don't want to load this .env from here. This is a local .env. This is just for testing. So this is how you load it. This is how you load it. But if I use it here, it will try later when building. It will try to load the .env. These are the things that I need to think of now. If I leave this like this, if I try to load the .env from here locally, .load. Okay, let me try it. I think it might work. Let me get this to load the .env, and then I will see how it will be loaded in production later. Because there are now 2 separate environments. I'll try to load the .env first thing here. Here, yeah. Try loading this, and then let me try to get the import. Try to get the import from here. Paste it here. Yeah. Why is it giving me error? Okay. I'll try to load it here. go.env. So go.env. Why is it giving me error? Dot. It's supposed to be full dot. Go.env. Dot load. I think I haven't downloaded this. I'm gonna try to get the command to download it. Since the .env is working,